What's up, everybody? My name's Tony, and first and foremost, I want to say thanks for stopping by my channel. So it's confession time. Back when I was in undergrad, I was one of those students who changed their major a couple of times. 5 times?
Yeah, 5 times.
So as you can imagine, I didn't have the traditional 4-year experience that a lot of students have in undergrad. So obviously, at the end of my undergraduate degree, I left with a pretty hefty student loan balance. So today, I want to talk to you all about how I manage my student loans and my approach to repay them. Additionally, I'm going to be talking to you all about the current 0% loan interest and how we should all be taking advantage of that. So if you're interested in talking student loans, I encourage you to stick around. I think you're going to enjoy this video. So I was one of those folks that whenever I finished undergrad, I went straight into working. As it relates to like student loans, obviously I took that 6-month window and I didn't make any payments during that time frame. And whenever I did have to start making payments, I was making bare minimum payments. I made the minimum payment for, I don't know, maybe a year or so until I went back and got my master's degree, and it took me about 2 years. So during that time, I took advantage of the ability to defer them and not have interest accrue. But they didn't go anywhere. I can recall periods where I felt like if I ignored them long enough, they would just disappear, but they don't go anywhere. So the sooner that we start paying them off, the better. So fast forward, I finished my master's and I go back into starting to pay like the minimum payment. So when you look at the website and it shows you, your repayment plan, I think you can pick like, 15 years, 25 years or whatever. You see those time frames for repayment, but you don't really realize how much extra you're paying until you actually sit down and do some calculations. So I want to jump and show you guys a site that I use, and we're just going to go through some examples so that you can really understand how much you're paying when you use those 15-year, 25-year repayment options. Let's look at this site really quick. Oh, look at that. I didn't even realize that video was up there. But if you haven't had a chance to go check out my video from last week, now's a good time to do that. So today I'm going to use this site to show you exactly how much extra you're paying in interest when you have that 25-year repayment option. I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about the impact that you can have on your repayment when you pay just a little bit more. So let's jump into it. This is on studentloanhero.com. It's a site by LendingTree. Let's say your current loan balance coming out of school is $25,000. Your interest rate for your loans is around 4.5%. On a 25-year repayment plan, you can expect your monthly payment to be somewhere around $139, $140-ish. Let's add in that we want to have these done by 25 years just to make sure our math is on. Okay, good. So what we'll see here is that the original loan, 25-year repayment with increased payments, obviously we put nothing in there. We're going to pay it off in exactly 25 years. So let's go back because, while that sounds fine, you can't see how much interest you're paying based on this view. So I want to show you what happens when you decide to increase your payment by, let's say, just $50 every month. So immediately we see that we've brought our time down from 25 years of repayment to 15 years and 4 months. Look at the interest difference. $9,000 in the 15-year versus $16,000. So let me make this clear. You got a $25,000 student loan coming out of college at a 4.5% interest rate. If you pay that loan off over 25 years, you're paying over $16,000 in interest for the $25,000 loan that you took out. By the time you pay it off, you've paid over $40,000. That is insane. So this is why, increasing the amount that you pay on the principal balance is so important in the long term on repaying your student loans. So we can see that this is just making a small increase, right? $50 a month, we spend at, Netflix, Hulu together, plus maybe one other subscription, you got $50. Matter of fact, going out to dinner or going out to a bar, we probably spend double that. So imagine if you just skipped one night going out a month and you decided to put that $50 towards your student loans. Over the life of your loan, you're cutting down so much time. I think we can do better than that though, right? Imagine if you just paid double what your monthly payment is. So if your student loans are requiring you to pay $139 a month, so let's imagine that we paid an additional $139 and see what that impact looks like. Doubling what you pay is going to more than half in the time that you spend repaying your student loans. You're saving yourself over $11,000 in interest and your total that you're paying for the life of the loan is $30,000, which is only $5,000 or so more than what the original loan was. Let's imagine that we said, I'm gonna pay off my student loans with the same vigor that I pay off a car. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, go ahead and press that thumbs up for me, leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel. There'll be more great videos coming soon. You all know car payments generally 36, 72 months. Let's assume that we decided to pay these student loans off in 5 years instead of the standard 25. And let's see what that looks like. For a $25,000 loan now, at a 4.5% interest rate, we're taking our payment from the base 139 to 473, which I would argue is a pretty standard car payment. You're only paying about $3,000 more in interest now, and saving yourself $13,000 that you would have been paying over 25 years. So my goal here is just to really emphasize how big of an impact you can have on the life of your student loans if you just pay a little bit more every month. If you got it, double it. If you can, triple it. You're going to save yourself so much money. But if you stick to paying the minimum balance, which is what they want you to do, you're gonna end up paying so much more in interest in the long run. So I encourage you, look at your student loans, look at your budget. Determine if you can reallocate some money towards your student loans so that you're paying more than the minimum balance. This information is really important to share because it's not something that we really think about as a college student coming out and going into the working world. It wasn't until I got into my career, started making payments, and then realizing that my balance when I was making my minimum payments was going nowhere. I was paying all interest and maybe a couple of dollars on the principal. And so as much as I can put additional money on my principal, I do it every single month because I know that it's gonna help me in the long run get my student loans paid off faster. That's another really important thing. When you go to make your payments on your student loans, if you do decide to pay extra on those loans, make sure that you check the box that says do not advance your due date, and make sure that you're applying that payment to your principal. You wanna be sure to pay your principal down as fast as possible because that's the number that determines how much interest is going to be accruing daily. If you don't know how to do this, I encourage you to reach out to your student loan provider and ask them. Call them, ask them questions, figure out the right way to do it. In Nelnet, where I make my student loan payments, there's a box that I can check that says do not advance due date. This brings me to my next point. There are two repayment methods that I've researched and want to discuss with you all today. Those methods are debt snowballing and debt avalanche. In a lot of ways, these two repayment methods are similar. The first is that your minimum monthly payment is still required for each of your accounts. The second similarity is that both of these methods require you to put your extra payment or extra funds towards a single loan. Here's where they start to differ. With the debt avalanche method, which is my preferred payment method, you focus your payments on your debt with the highest interest rate. What you'll find, especially with student loans, is sometimes you have multiple loans with the exact same interest rate. If this is the case for you, as it is for me in some instances, ensure that you focus your payment on the loan with the highest balance within that interest rate. For example, if you have two loans with the 6.8% interest rate, and one of the balances is $7,000 and the other is $4,000, you want to make sure that you start on the one with the $7,000 because that one's going to accrue the most interest as the balance is higher. The primary driver behind following the debt avalanche method is that it allows you to pay your student loans off while also paying the least amount of interest. Now, the differentiating factor for debt snowball is that you focus on the loans with the lowest balance first, regardless of interest rate. So again, you pay the minimum required payment for each of your accounts. As for the extra payment, you allocate those funds towards the loan with the lowest balance. So the benefit here is that you'll get gratification more quickly than the avalanche method because you're always focusing on the loan with the smallest balance. And the idea here is that you just continue to build momentum upon that gratification as you pay off more and more of your loans over time. So as I said, I follow the debt avalanche method. So what that looks like for me month to month is one, knowing exactly how much I'm going to pay for that month, including my extra payment. Going into my Nelnet account, selecting the option that allows me to pay by group, ensuring that I'm paying the minimum balance on all of my loan, and then any extra I allocate towards a single group. I always check do not advance due date so that the money that I pay extra goes towards my principal and not towards the interest. So back in March of this year, Congress passed the CARES Act. There were three major impacts from the CARES Act to your student loans. The first was to suspend all student loan payments. The second was to stop collections on defaulted loans. And the third was to set the interest rate for student loans to 0% for 60 days. Now those guides ended up getting extended twice. Now they're set to expire on December 31st of this year, meaning January of next year, all of those guidelines will no longer be in place, your interest will resume accruing, and you'll be responsible for making those student loan payments again. Now here is what I want to tell you. Right now is not the time to not be paying student loans. I totally get how beautiful it is that we don't have to pay student loans and there's no penalty for it right now. But let me say this, if you have the ability to pay your student loans right now, do it. The fact that interest is not accruing at this moment makes it the prime time for you to be repaying your student loans. This means that you can pay off whatever interest is in place now, but also you're able to apply your full payment to the principal of your loan. I don't think I need to rewind this and tell you how important it is to pay your principal down. So I hope that you all have already been taking advantage of this, but if you have not, I encourage you, start back paying your student loans ASAP. There's no telling if this will get extended again later into 2021, so I'm taking advantage of it and I encourage you all to do the exact same. Pay those principals down, because once your interest starts accruing again, that'll be a smaller principal balance. You're gonna end up paying less interest in the life of the loan. You seriously can be making a tremendous impact on your student loans right now, so do that. Okay, that's it folks. I really hope you got something valuable out of this video. If so, remember to give this video a like, leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Student loans can be really tough to manage, but I'm a firm believer that when we know better, we do better. Last but not least, always remember, take a moment and enjoy the lights. Peace.